ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you here to the Zeus Tennis Podcast. Here, the first one ever, and our first person to give his time is Mehrban. Mehrban, how are you doing, and what's going on?
Oh, thanks for having me, Greg. Appreciate it. And yeah, things are going great. Been playing a lot of tennis lately and enjoying the nice weather. It's kind of heating up though now in Maryland. So pleasure to be on.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming on. It's funny because yeah, we're just kind of getting in here and doing it. So maybe we can, I don't know, start from the beginning. How did you find tennis?
Sure, yeah. So as far as tennis, my dad, he exposed me to a lot of different sports, which was great, basketball, soccer, tennis, and I just naturally gravitated toward tennis, and I found that I enjoyed it more and, just enjoyed hitting the ball and running around. So, I played in the local parks around here, and then eventually my dad took me to some clinics, and then I started to get serious and trained with better groups and played juniors and did pretty well there and got to number 7 in my section, Mid-Atlantic section, in the 16s and like 200 something in the country. So that was fun. And then after that, I went to college and played for the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and that was a great experience, playing with a team and traveling around, and we made NCAAs our last season, or my last season. And then after that, I took a break, went to law school and didn't play for like 3 years, but I fell back in love with it again upon playing on a league, or in a league, like we were just talking beforehand about you playing in leagues as well, Greg. And then that's my tennis story. I mean, I can stop here, and obviously I have the tennis falls part of it to talk about as well if you want to, whenever you want to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Why don't we get into it right away? Why don't we say how did you start Tennis Files, and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So with tennis, I was just thinking one day of how can I create just a creative outlet for myself, and then I figured out that there's this whole aspect of the interweb, as they call it, and I was wondering what could I do, what could I create to help people, and then I figured out that I've played tennis for a long time, so let's just create a website and put on some good content for everybody. But funny enough, I started out as trying to be like a news site, but that didn't really work out. It just was very tough to compete with like ESPN and stuff. So anyways,
ESPN, right?
Yeah, it's I was like sitting there trying to watch every single match, and I said, this is going to be insane. So then I just pivoted to online tennis instruction. And then after about a year, I was looking for podcasts to learn more about the game. And then I noticed that there weren't any interview-based podcasts, or maybe there was one, but I didn't see it. So then I was curious about that whole realm of media, and so I researched it, and I found out that it wasn't as difficult as it seemed, to start one. So I decided to start one, and I started with my college tennis coach and just kind of branched out from there, reached out to people, and ended up being able to interview some great people, like James Blake and Paul Annacone, Taylor Dent, a lot of great guests on here on the show. So and then after that, I found out about online tennis conferences, and I figured out that there was nothing out there as well for tennis. Again, maybe there was something, but I wasn't aware of it. So I just studied up on that, how to create it. And then I've been running what's called the Tennis Summit for the past 5 years now, I think, 2017 to 2021. So yeah, that's been great too. And I just continue to try to make content to help players improve. I'm still doing the podcast every week. I've got over 200 episodes, and but I definitely remember, my very first one and all that, and it's blown by. So that's pretty much the story, I think. So feel free to ask any questions about it.
Okay, fantastic. So it's interesting. You said you've had a lot of wonderful guests and interviewed some people. So out of all those interviews, do you have, or your three memorable tips for tennis players, whether it's whatever it may be, the three memorable tips.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So like one of them that it was really eye-opening was from Rick Macy. So he's coached a lot of great players. I think the Williams sisters, Roddick, like a bunch of people. So, I was trying to improve my serve, and then he said that the vast majority of tennis players, they have a timing issue where they perform their racket drop too early, and they drop the racket first, and then they push up with their legs. And what you should be doing really is having the, push off with your legs, and that initiates the racket drop. So, if you drop the racket and then push up and then swing, that's a common mistake, but you lose a ton of power that way. So you really want to be able to sync up that lower body push with the racket drop. So that was really a really good one. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Just Johan Kriek was talking about how important the serve toss is, because it really can mess up your entire serve, even if you have great motion. And in terms of consistency too, the more consistent of a toss you have, then the better serve you're going to have over time, the more fluid. And then Dr. Mark Kovacs has given me a lot of great advice about everything from kinetic chain, how important that is, to also the warm up. And he's talked about you just like warm up routines and things like that. So that's been really key, like especially the dynamic warm up before you start playing, like because a lot of people think that you should be just doing static stretching beforehand, but it's really all about the dynamic warm up and warming up like the muscles that you're going to use and the type of movements you're going to use during tennis. So those three are definitely some memorable ones. I can think of a lot of others too, but those are three pretty good ones.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about Dr. Kovacs. I discovered him. My first time I discovered Dr. Kovacs is through the Fuzzy Yellow Balls series on his 100-mile-per-hour serve thing course, and ever since then I've been following him. And some of the best tips for warm-ups, the dynamic warm-up. Yeah, that's what I do now. Like, because I still teach a lot of tennis, and it's funny because sometimes I don't have time to warm up before a class, so I'll start doing the dynamic warm-up as I feed people. And I swear, like, people are probably looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm doing the high kicks and like doing my little bends and like as I'm feeding balls, and like especially if I'm doing a hitting lesson. So Dr. Kovacs, if you haven't checked out Dr. Kovacs, I highly recommend that you guys out there check him out. He's what was he? He was the USTA.
So I'm trying to think about his USTA affiliation wise. I can't remember. I just know that he has the Kovacs Institute, and that I think is in Atlanta right now. But he also he's currently the director of sports science for the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is like pretty amazing. That it shows, how good he is. That he was so good with tennis, and then the professional basketball team saw him and just decided that he would be great to guide them as well. So again, I'm not sure about the USTA part, but he has his own institute, and he's worked with a lot of professional tennis players, obviously, and. Yeah, he's really good. And it really has made such a big difference, honestly, like the dynamic warm up. Because I was the same way too. Like I would arrive like, 1 minute before or even like late sometimes, which is embarrassing. But and it would take me a long time to get settled in. But ever since I've been doing the dynamic warm up, I have just been much warmer right away and got into the groove quicker, and my body's better protected against injuries as well. So I'm glad that you're making time for it, whether that's before or during your clinics. That's great.
Yes. You got to do it dynamically, and it's cool. So kind of like pivoting a little bit. What was the first racket you used, or the first racket that you remember using?
Yeah, they call it the skunk, the Wilson Hammer 6.2. That was a great one. I think Todd Martin and Lindsay Davenport used that, but I don't know. I enjoyed it, and I think that racket probably helped shape my game in terms of just like hitting a ton of spin and liking that type of racket, I guess. So it it was a good one.
What do you
And I
mean
used it for a long time.
what do you mean by that type of racket?
Yeah, I guess it was like, if I remember correctly, it was kind of like a thicker beam.
Hmm.
It seems like I've always used that type since then. Like I've used the Pure Arrow series twice. So yeah, I don't know, that type of racket. I
Gotcha.
was able to generate a lot of spin and everything. So yeah, it was a good one.
Something
Yeah.
that can generate a lot of spin. You like that?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
So,
I can generate a lot of my own spin, but I guess to accentuate my game further, like I like, spin based rackets. So I'm using the Pure Arrow VS right now.
oh, you got the Pure Arrow now? Okay.
Yeah,
That was
the
going to be my
VS
next
version.
question. You
Oh,
let me
okay,
right
sorry.
into it. No, it's all good. Pure Arrow VS. And do you know the weight and balance of that racket, or do you know the specs or at all, or?
So I think unstrung it's 10.4
Okay.
ounces, and then I want to say it's 7 points head light, but that may not be entirely correct. And then it's a 98 square inch, and
Got it.
it's 16 by 20.
Got it.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool. Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Um, uh, yes. Yes, I remember now. I wanted to ask you this question. Most memorable, most memorable point, or one of your memorable points in your career.
Okay. Let me think here. Uh, yeah, this is kind of a funny one actually. So
Okay.
so there's the I don't know how it is now exactly, but I was an alternate for the Super National Clay Court tournament in Washington D.C. in the 16s. So like the top juniors get into that tournament, and I think there were 6 other people who were ahead of me or whatever, but somebody dropped out, and then I was able to get into that tournament, so it was pretty exciting. And then I tried to warm up before the tournament, and then I just found a random person, and then I warmed up with that person, and it's like a huge draw. It's like 128 or 256, and then I went to play my match later that day, and then my opponent was that same person who I warmed up with. And then I played that person, and it was pretty exciting, and it was the biggest tournament I had played. And then I won the first set, but then I ended up losing the next 2 sets. And I just remember, like, one of my coaches at the time, like, he was, for whatever reason, he was like kind of angry, and my dad got angry at him, and like, I don't know, it was weird. I don't know why I brought that up, but it was like one of the biggest, it was the biggest tournament that I'd played in. So as a junior, so that was just very memorable, and it's right by where I live too. It's in Bethesda, so Maryland. I mean, second to that, even though you only asked me for one, would probably be getting to the NCAAs my senior year, where we got to play Duke. Like, that was really exciting, winning that conference tournament specifically. So that was pretty cool too.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, those are that'll be exciting moments to get those tournaments. And sorry you didn't get that win, but must have been something that you learned from. Must have been a learning experience.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so uh, um, tactical strategy. On the court, yes, we have our technique and we have our mechanics and we've got our dynamic warm up. What about tactically strategy? Do you think some players are missing out that they could use, to help them get over that hump, or maybe beat that guy that they've been, or a girl that they've been trying to beat?
Yeah, definitely. And, Greg, you're probably aware of Craig O'Shaughnessy, and so I've had him on a couple of my summits. And yeah, I mean, basically, like, what his teachings illuminate is that, tennis is really a game of errors. I forget the exact statistic, but it's like 70 or 80% of, all points and in errors and all that. So, yeah, I mean, and also, like, the average number of shots for a rally is like, I guess the first 4 shots also, they comprise like 80% or something of all the points. So basically, like, 2 things with that. One is, you do want to practice a lot more your serve and return, because like those are the most important parts of the game, really. And, like I said, the points are usually going to be short. So like having a good serve and a good return is going to set you up for the rest of the point. Yeah, and then I guess, tactically too, just a lot of times you just really have to go back to the basics, making that effort to be able to hit deep rally balls and attack at the appropriate times, like when you get a short ball, and putting pressure on the opponent's weaknesses, playing to your strengths, trying to set that up, basic patterns, slice serve and then hit to the other side of the court, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of strategy within the game, and you make a great point too. I mean, even if you don't improve your technique at all, like if you change your strategy around, you could definitely go up in USTA or NTRP ranking levels just by doing that alone. So strategy is huge. I mean, it's funny though. Tennis is just, you still have to put together everything. Like you have great strategy, great technique, but your fitness is bad or your mental game is off, then it's not going to work out. But yeah, a lot of strategy to be studied and mastered as well.
Yeah, it's like that big triangle, right? You got the technique, physical, you've got the tactic, strategy, and then the mental, right? And I think that would be probably leading us to the next question. Some of your favorite mental strength tips that you've heard that you want to share with our audience here that that can help them.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is to really learn to accept, like, if you feel some sort of emotion, it's not about like blocking it out. It's really about saying, okay, like this is normal to feel this, but then trying to refocus. And one great mental tip I picked up was from Jeff Greenwald, who's written some books on the topic, and I've had him on my summits as well on podcasts. And yeah, he, the in between point routine is really really key and can help you refocus. So after the point, things like looking at your racket strings and feeling your feet on the ground. That was an interesting one that I'd never heard before, but yeah, you're giving it a thumbs up. Yeah, so that's really good. Just like a brief affirmation helps too. So yeah, just implementing like physical sorts of routines in between points really helps a lot. Yeah. So yeah, those are my kind of main tips on that, really. And also too, I guess you should practice, make your conditions in your practices as much as possible equate to the match, and, implement some sort of pressure as well. I've talked to Jorge Capistani, who's one of the best coaches around as well. And, and he has a lot of ways to implement accountability and pressure in games, like playing like sets from 30 all, or whoever loses the game, whatever it is, like has to do push-ups or something. So yeah, those are some tips that I picked up.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like something that consequences or something you're playing for or something like that to make them more game realistic. Oh, that's very interesting. Yes. Jeff Greenwald, it's interesting. I did get his program, and you were talking about that feeling when you were walking, like feeling your feet and like feeling the felt of the ball. Those were really helpful things. So kind of pivoting a little bit to some fun questions before we wrap it up. Favorite tennis player when you were growing up?
Oh, when I was growing up, gosh, that's so funny. I was always in between Sampras and Agassi. It's tough because Agassi, so I'm half Iranian, and he is as well. That's the thing. But I think I actually favored Pete Sampras a little bit. Just his demeanor and his serve was amazing, and classic player. So I would have to give the slight edge to Pete Sampras.
Slight edge to Pete. I was an Agassi guy, just a slight edge because I love Pete. But it's funny because I served and volleyed when I was in high school, but I loved Agassi.
Maybe it's that flair.
Yeah, I had his racket. I played with his racket. I served and volleyed. Favorite player now?
Oh, this is again like a really tough one because I'm in between Federer and Nadal, and whoever likes Djokovic, I have huge respect for him as well. But oh my gosh, it's again I'm giving like this slight edge to Federer, but again I love Nadal too, so it's really tough. How about you?
How about me? Oh, I love Djokovic. I'm a
Oh,
Djokovic.
okay, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing, so clutch, like
Yes,
ridiculous.
yes. And Federer. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously Federer and Nadal. They got a piece of my heart too. I mean,
Mhm.
but I just like, yeah, I like Djokovic. Memorable match that you
Mm.
watched on TV.
You're gonna love this one.
Yes.
I think you can guess already. Yeah, the 2019 Wimbledon men's final. Where Federer had the 2 match points, and
Oh, I
then your
remember.
boy Djokovic,
Yeah.
came back. That was very memorable.
I couldn't
So
believe it. He had it on his bracket, and somehow
I
I
know.
could
There's
not.
some. Yeah, it's crazy. And there's some meme of like some lady in the stands like holding up one or something.
Yes.
I think Djokovic fans, they always like post that.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, pretty memorable one. I'm sure there's others, but that one I guess was so recent too, like fairly recent, and I remembered it first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then just to kind of wrap it up, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience, and or anything that you want to talk about? Feel free to. This is the time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess just like advice wise, I really found that having routines, like especially in the morning and at night, have really helped my tennis. I mean, I'm actually the type of person who, like, if I don't have like an exercise routine in the morning, like I'm not able to really function that well. So for any of you out there who feel like you're groggy and not performing well, you can take a few minutes in the morning to, just do some jump roping, some stretching. And I don't know, I just feel like overall that's made a big impact in my life. And as well, I insert meditating, and I feel like that's actually helped me with my tennis as well, like helped my focus and refocusing and all that. Yeah, and just, if you are interested in checking out more content that I have, just feel free to just go to tennisfiles.com, or just, look me up on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. And I've got, a free ebook for you and some other stuff and videos. But yeah, I just say, just keep improving every day. Just try to be a problem solver. Tennis is really fun. It's such great exercise, and like there's so many facets of the game that you can improve. And so just try to pick one that you think will help you the most, and just find some reputable sources or listen to Greg's podcast, and then figure out, help yourself and help your game, and then you'll enjoy it even more. So just embrace that improvement process. Yeah.
Totally agree, Mehrban. Thank you so much for your time. Again, everybody, check him out at Tennis Files, tennisfiles.com, right? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has a summit. It's every year, right? I believe once a year.
Yeah, once a year in April. Yeah.
Right, and then you can get into it, and then you have access to it for the whole year. I remember I'm getting it, right?
Yeah. It's basically like, it's actually like free for that week, like for a limited time. So you can actually even like just watch the sessions, and I think they're up for like 2 days each and all that. But then you can also get lifetime access to the program. It's just a one-time thing, and then you'll have it for forever, basically. So
Beautiful.
so it's a fun program. Yeah, I guess we didn't talk about it. It's like 40 plus coaches on there, teaching different aspects of the game. It's like a huge conference thing. That's the tennis summit. But thanks for mentioning that.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Everybody have a wonderful day. Keep getting out there on that tennis court, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.